Let's start with an uncomfortable one. If you've been in the industry more than about 18 months, you probably had the thought quietly, maybe at 11 p.m., doing invoices. Why is it so much harder than anyone told me it would be? I'm going to give you 7 answers today, not 7 hacks, 7 actual structural reasons money is hard to make in the industry right now, what to do about each one. This is a long version of something I put out on YouTube. So go watch that if you want it quick and clean. This version is where we're going to sit in on it and dwell and talk about it. Okay. Anyway, welcome to the Loud Lens. I'm Khandie. If this is your first time, I'm not going to tell you photography is dying. I'm not going to tell you that it's the best time ever to be a photographer either. Both of those sound like sales pitches. What I am going to do is talk to you like an adult about money because almost nobody in this industry does that properly, I feel, or no one that I've come across. There's been a few that will be like, oh my God, I'm the best. But quick bit of context as to why I care so much about this. Is to be honest, I just hate the fact that people out there in the Facebook things often talking about like, "Oh, I can't make a living," and then everyone jumping on them, being mean to them, and, I kind of feel like you don't get to blame the market forever. You gotta look at what's in your control and what you'll fix about it, okay? So today, 7 things, 7 things. Some of those you've probably heard in fragments, but I wanna go further into this than modern fragments. So we're gonna start off with 1, okay? 1 is the rebooking window. Let's open with rebooking because it sounds so simple but that people dismiss it. That dismissal is exactly what doesn't happen. So here's the mechanism. There's a window, and I'd say it's measured in minutes, not days. Right after a client sees the images for the first time, where their emotional investment in you is at its absolute peak. That's the moment, not a follow-up email a week later, not the hope you loved your gallery message. Right there in the room or on that call. That's why in-person sales are so good. Why does almost nobody do this? Because it feels like selling, and most photographers, creative generally, have a weird shame response to asking for money directly. We'll happily spend 4 hours retouching for a freebie before we'll say, "Would you like to book in again?" out loud to somebody's face. It's like, what? I want you to sit with that for a second because it's not really about the rebooking. It's about the discomfort about being paid that a lot of us carry around without examining it. I know, for example, that I used to never want to do in-person sales because I felt like if I did an in-person sale with a client that sat in my studio, that I would fumble it and I'd make a mess. And one of the biggest tips I have, if you're ever going to do that, is allow the room to breathe. I don't mean like just open windows. I mean, when you tell them how much something costs, don't immediately jump straight into a discount. Let them sit with it for a bit. And if after a bit they're like, "Oh, we can't really afford that," then you can look at adding additional product before you discount. Okay. I want you to build a tactical version, build the ask into your delivery process as a literal step, not a vague sort of introduction, a script. Maybe before you go, when would you want to do this again? Make it a habit so it stops requiring courage every time. When I tell a client, oh, we're done. Oh my God, we'd love to have you booked in. Do you want to book in again? Like, let us know. The other one I'm gonna go for is the client data audit, the second one, okay? So go and actually look at your client list. I think most photographers have an unconscious belief that their business is a series of one-off transactions with strangers, and new strangers are the only source of growth. That belief is so wrong and it's incredibly expensive. Here's what I want you to do literally this week. Pull every client from the last 2, 3 years, not just the ones that felt like big jobs, everyone. Ask 3 questions from the list. Who never rebooked? Who inquired again and I never replied to, or I didn't get a response? Who's had a life event since I shot them, which would naturally need a photographer? Maybe it's a new baby, they got married, a brand, a work anniversary. That list is not a marketing list, though. It's a warm relationship list. The trust is already there. You're not convincing anybody you're good at the job. They already know at this point. You're just reminding them that they exist. Okay. I do an audit. I went through and I touched base with a couple of clients who I'd done like headshots about 18 months ago. And it turns out lots of them needed new ones done. One because they'd rebranded the business, new joiners, and they just were like, yeah, I want a true reflection of me. So I was able to get some more work. I think it's really important to do this and it really helps. And I go back through client lists are so important. It's really hard to sell someone who doesn't know who you are, right? It's easier to sell someone who knows who you are. And that is why this is such a good thing to do. Please, please, please look at your client data on the regular. Look back and figure out, hey, that person booked me for, I don't know, their wedding. Maybe they've had a kid by now. Maybe it's their anniversary. Why don't we look at that? Or, oh, I did their branding images like 2 years ago. Okay, maybe it's a time to touch base and refresh that. Okay. So we're going on to number 3, retainers over one-off quotes. Okay, so this is one is more about how you structure a relationship, not just how you sell it. Every time you send a fresh quote, you're opening up a negotiation. You're reminding the client that this is optional, transactional, and they could shop around. A retainer removes that friction entirely and it converts them to do we need a photographer this month? To, oh, we already have one. That psychological shift is on their end too. You stop being a vendor that they occasionally use and basically become part of their infrastructure, part of their business. And that's a whole different type of relationship and is much harder for a competitor to displace. All right. I know I've been hearing horror stories about people being like they've been shooting for the same client for the last 5 years and then randomly they've been dropped for someone new. I think a retainer probably would have stopped that. Where this gets interesting for smaller or solo photographers is that you don't need a huge corporate client to do this. Even a boutique brand needs monthly content or a venue needs regular event coverage. They can all go on retainer structure. It's about proposing it because nobody else is really doing it. I have it with something called my business subscription model. So businesses can hire me to come in every quarter and I take photos for their content. I take some seasonal stuff and then some more evergreen short clips for them so they can always use. And that library stays with them. So they could go back to images that I've done maybe 2, 3 years ago and still use them. Okay. It's a really good, and it's one of my biggest, I want to say passive. Oh, sorry, I'm yawning. She says passive yawning. It's one of my passive incomes, but it's not entirely passive because I still have to do work. It's not like I sit there quietly, but that monthly payment from them comes in every time until I'm ready to shoot. All right. The other one I'm going to go for is splitting usage from capture. This is the one that tends to get people slightly angry when I say it because it exposes money that they've been giving away for years mostly. Most of us price the shoot, full stop, then the usage, where do these images go? How long are they going to be used for? Whether they're going to end up in a paid ad campaign that's worth tens of thousands to the client, handed over for free indefinitely. It's just like part of being a nice professional photographer, right? It isn't. Usage is a separate commercial asset. A capture fee pays you for your time and the skill of the day. A usage fee pays you for the ongoing value that that client extracts from those images, potentially for years. And I'm not saying to like penny pinch on a portrait client who putting a photo on their Instagram. I'm talking about brand and commercial work where the client's business use the image for real financial value. If they're comfortable enough to ask you to shoot it, they're comfortable enough to ask about proper usage rights. You just have to ask them. Okay. For example, this might be where you get your press card or your PR rate. I have different tiers. If it's going on a billboard, it's probably a lot more money that they need to pay me than if it was going on a social media campaign, depending on the campaign, obviously. So for me, they are, usage rights is something that we do need to separate and look into. It's really important for us. And I think more people need to do this. Okay, 5. Are we on 5? We're on 5, right? Right. Someone count back. I'm sure we're on 5. Yeah, we are on 5. The non-competing referral partnership or system. Okay, so I think this has been more popular in America when people have what they call ambassadors for their brand, but referral networks, okay? But we're not talking photographer, we're talking different ones. Photographer referral groups are lovely, and most are bloody useless at making revenue because what actually moves money is a relationship with someone who's already in front of your ideal client for a completely different reason, okay? Venues, planners, stylists, printers, performers, promoters, anything like that, right? This is slower than posting on Instagram and hoping, but it's not dependent on the algorithm's mood that week. A referral relationship, once built, tends to compound. Each booking reinforces the trust and makes you the next one to easier for you. Like I do a lot within my local town and people recommend me. I've got 4 jobs next month over recommendations through word of mouth because people have said, "Hey, Khandie's the girl for that. Khandie's the girl for that." And I'm getting bookings in. Oh my God, I can't stop yawning. What is going on? You were like, I'm turning on this podcast and the girl reading now is just sending herself to sleep. What it is, I've come back from Estonia when recording this and I'm just not sleeping very well. But I wanted to get this out because people were asking and I just didn't get on with it. And I was like, oh, I need to get it sorted. Okay, so let's go. We're almost at the end. Don't worry. Right. This is probably one of the ones is a little, people get a bit weirded out by. It's called the direct email. So number 6. The one that is so simple, but it's almost embarrassing to include in like a business strategy list. But that's the exact point. Email your past clients directly. No funnel, no sell, no 7-part nurturing sequence. I've got space this month. Here's what I'm offering. That's it. Here's why this worked disproportionately well. Almost everyone's inbox marketing is some sort of automated, soulless, non-existent bollocks, right? A genuine, direct, human, slightly vulnerable ask from someone they already trust and know cuts through in a way that a well-polished campaign doesn't. I think the reason photographers avoid this is the same reason we avoid asking for rebookings in the room. It feels like begging when it really isn't. It's just communicating that you're open for business to people who already like you. I've done this in the past. In fact, way. And I was like, "Oh, is it gonna work? Should I do it? Should I do it?" And I did, and I got 6 bookings in. So, there is money out there sat on a tree somewhere. No, it's not on a tree, is it? In an email inbox. You should be getting it. Okay, and my last one, the lost quote audit. Now, the one that most people will not do, and I argue it teaches you the most about your business, is this one. Go back through every inquiry that went cold. Someone asked for a quote and vanished. Email them, not to sell and to ask, no pressure at all. I'm just curious, what made you decide not to go ahead? And both, one, a real portion of them will actually rebook. Honestly, in my experience, this is what happens. Circumstances change, timing changes, and you're reopening that door with zero pressure. It's rare enough that it stands out. Two, this is a bit more uncomfortable. You'll learn where your business is actually leaking. Maybe it's the price, maybe it's your response time, maybe it's something in how you present your work isn't landing the way how you think, sorry. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. And most of us refuse to look at our lost quotes because it stings. It's not nice when someone says, I'm not going to book it, or worse yet, they just blank you. They're like, no, I'm not replying to that. I think it does help us if we reach out. If no one replies, no one replies. Don't worry about it. Oh my God. That's I'm yawning. Maybe I should record this without the yawning, but I feel like you need to know that I'm recording this really early in the morning and I just wanted to get this off my chest. Okay, so there's 7 things. None of them are viral. None of them require a new camera, a rebrand, a trending audio, dancing video. They're systems, retention, data, direct communication, and the discomfort about actually asking for the booking, for the usage fee, for the honest why not. If today's episode has helped, genuinely, I appreciate that if you share it with somebody else, you might need to hear it. This industry does better when we're honest with each other about money instead of pretending it's all about manifesting and vibing, to be honest. Mentoring and one-to-one links are in the show notes if you want to go a bit deeper into one of these for your specific business. But until then, I shall see you next time. And I'm going to go to bed now. I'm shattered.